Israeli forces have carried out relentless bombardment across the Gaza Strip since dawn on Saturday. At least 26 Palestinians have been killed. Some of the explosions could be seen from Israel. Earlier, the Israeli army targeted tents housing displaced Palestinians in Al-Mawasi. That's an area it declared a so-called safe zone. The attack killed 11 Palestinians. Another strike in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza killed 2 people. Meanwhile, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees has described the notorious Gaza Humanitarian Foundation as a cruel scheme, an operation designed to kill. Since May, at least 800 Palestinians have been killed while trying to get food. Most of them were targeted in Israeli attacks on people gathered at food distribution sites run by the GHF, an organization backed by the US and Israel. Currently, only one of its sites is operating, catering to more than 2 million starving Palestinians. On Friday, 10 people were killed at the site in Rafah. Hani, Mahmoud, you're joining us from Gaza City. So Palestinians are really having to make absolutely impossible choices on the ground in Gaza. How are they finding food?
Well, Doreen, it's not just the food that they have to make decisions about it. They have to look into other alternatives or options available. It's just the fact that they are pushed into displacement from one place to another. The ongoing enforced displacement orders for them always put them at the spot of making hard choices and decisions, because moving from one place to another doesn't have any guarantee of safety at all. We've seen examples of people moving from one area told in order to avoid being bombed, were in fact killed in these new areas they were told to. So the same thing applies to food now. The whole process, if we just look at the past months from the beginning of the genocide, how the humanitarian aid mechanism, how it evolved to the point of what we are witnessing right now, it all along involved more death, more risk, and more danger in the whole entire process, from deliberately targeting aid workers, aid convoys, organizations, and now the very hungry, displaced people turning at distribution centers are being shot by the Israeli military. So it's all channeled into one conclusion: death and destruction. That's what the Israeli military promised at the beginning of the genocide, and in fact it has been effectively delivering death and destruction to the civilian population across the Gaza Strip. The alternatives and the options for Palestinians in the northern part of the Strip are very, very slim. In fact, they are equivalent to none. There are no aid distribution centers here, apart from the few warehouses managed and operated by the WFP and other organizations, local organizations. There isn't many, and whatever they are getting in terms of the truck and food aid or food parcels, not enough, not sufficient in terms of a quantity to respond to the greater demands created by months of devastation and destruction. When we talk about 20 trucks filled with the flour, that is not nearly enough to feed a neighborhood. If we think of 3 or a little over 3 months of no crossings and no humanitarian aid coming in, there is hunger, there is a starvation, and to make up for this lack of food and basic necessity, you need on a daily basis to flood Gaza with the trucks and humanitarian aid. But what's really concerning now, the humanitarian aid mechanism, it's controlled by one organization, rather a notorious one, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, that is definitely making headlines, not because it's effectively delivering aid to the much needed population, hungry and starved, but because nearly 800 people were killed at or near these distribution centers, what have been marketed for as an organization, a lifeline for displaced and traumatized and hungry population. In fact, the has become a flashpoint of fear, death, and mass casualties. And we've seen from day one of its operations how it evolved from a humanitarian aid supposedly to deliver food to people into a death trap for people, a killing box. If we just think how it's been constructed, the engineering behind it, designed in a way that will channel into this point, death and destruction for the entire civilian population across the strip. The options, again, are limited. People do not have enough food. According to the WFP assessment, 1 in 3 people haven't eaten for at least 2 or 3 days. And it goes on for all the categories, let alone those who are like older persons, vulnerable as the children, as the women with health and medical conditions complicated. They are having much of this problem.
Hani, thank you so much for that reporting from Gaza City.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.